Peter, you live part of your life here in Melbourne, in Australia, but then every now and again you pull on the Italian shirt. Tell us a little bit about where you're headed and how that all came about.
We're headed off to Bermuda next week for a bit of a World Cricket League tournament, Division 3. So I play for Italy due to my father's heritage as a great Italian man who he lived there until he was about 20, and then he moved out to Australia for a better opportunity at life, and sort of went from there.
And how did the actual opportunity come about, and what was the process for you to qualify to play for Italy?
I think initially there was a friend of mine who I played cricket with at Ivanhoe Cricket Club who had played cricket in Italy. He stumbled across it on one of his trips over there, and he notified the president of the Italian Cricket Federation that I was a reasonable young player, and they got in contact and asked me to go and do the qualification process, which involves 100 working days in the country, working for the development of cricket in that country. And you also have to have an Italian passport initially to be able to get over there. So that period of qualification takes about 6 months, and I was lucky enough to be able to spend 6 or 7 months in Rome living and working in cricket in Italy. It was a fantastic experience.
Tell us a little bit about that. What struck you about the talent coming through and just the life experience in general?
Well, the talent, there's not so much talent coming through. There's a lot of talented kids there, but none of them know what cricket is, so they don't get exposure to it like we do, obviously, on TV. So in terms of the sort of talent identification or talent development side of things, it was just all about getting them in there and sort of trying to teach them how to play. So one of my roles was I took a school through their grade 4s and 5s, I think, through their English program. I taught them cricket, and so we went into the gymnasium once a week, and we had a full cricket program, so we sort of spoke in English and explained the rules of cricket and how to play, and then followed that up with a few of the skills that are essential to cricket, and that's how we sort of developed that in that particular school.
And being picked for the Italian team, when did that happen, and how long have you been involved?
So 2008 was my first tour. My first tournament was the European Championships, which was over in Dublin, and I've been playing ever since. So I've played in Africa, Ireland, Italy, Dubai, and now Bermuda, and a few other places as well.
Did you ever think that cricket could provide this sort of opportunity for you?
Did not think of it one bit. I always obviously dreamt of playing for Australia, and initially wanted to play for Victoria, of course, and after I made my debut at Melbourne, but never thought that I'd get to travel to places like Africa, etc., to play cricket. So it's given me a great opportunity, and as you said it earlier, it's a great life experience, and I thoroughly enjoy it.
And just the exposure to a different standard of cricket, how have you found that?
It's been good. It's it is very different to sort of, you get used to the way you play in Australia, and it is a specific type of cricket. I've played a little bit in England, which varies again, but still the culture is much the same. But when you start playing with a lot of guys from different countries, like playing against Afghanistan, for example, or the US guys who are mainly West Indians, it's a different sort of a game, and you sort of have to adapt, and you learn. I think you become a well-rounded cricketer, being able to sort of deal with the different game situations and the different ways that people play.
And who are some of the best players that you've played with and against as part of this program?
Well, definitely the best player I would have played with for Italy would be Michael Di Venuto, the ex-Australian one-day opener, and now current batting coach. Joe Scuderi's current coach. He was captain when I started playing, South Australian and Lancashire all-rounder, and a great exponent of the mullet. And also Gareth Burge, who's a current Middlesex all-rounder, who's a very good player who also played for us in the last tournament in Dubai for the T20 Global Qualifiers.
And that experience playing internationally, how's that helped your cricket back here in Australia?
I haven't been able to compile any massive scores since I've been back. However, I think just in game awareness and and experience, it just helps immensely. So it's just the more cricket you play, obviously, the better you are at it, or the more composed, I guess, you are. So it's helped in that regard, no end.
No doubt there's other countries like Italy where they're getting some, I guess, expat players to represent them. It must be a real melting pot of different cultures and countries at some of these tournaments.
Oh, absolutely it is. So, I mean, England's a perfect example of a battling team getting up there using expats. However, teams like the USA team have a lot of West Indian guys and also a lot of Asians, Pakistanis and Indians that live in the US and are able to qualify through that. In the Italian team, we have a few Australians, a few South Africans and some Sri Lankans and Pakistanis that live in Italy. Also, the Afghanistani guys, a few of them have grown up in the refugee camps around Peshawar, so did a lot of their growing up in Pakistan. And the Omani guys, you don't know quite where they're from, but they're all competitive, and as you say, it is a melting pot and a good life experience to be around a lot of different sort of cultures. And
just from a Italian development point of view, there's some homegrown guys that are coming through the system? There
are a few a few indigenous Italians, as we call them, and one of the young stars who came down and played a season in Melbourne was Luis De Giglio, who's a good left-arm swing bowler and a lower-order batsman. So the future's bright. There's a couple of teams in Italy that are all Italians, and they feature quite prominently in the Serie A division over there. So yeah, there are a few guys coming through.
And just looking forward to Bermuda. Tell us a little bit about that tournament and what your expectations might be.
The Bermuda tournament's World Cricket League Division 3, and it's the final group stage before the global qualifiers for the 50-over World Cup. And so the top two teams from this tournament will progress through to the global qualifiers, which are in New Zealand next February, I believe. In terms of our expectations, I think Italy's ranked number 1 or 2 in that tournament. So we have got high hopes, and if we play well enough, then I'm sure we can. We have got the skills to be able to sort of upset a few of the other bigger nations like Bermuda that are playing in this tournament, who have represented in World Cups, etc. And also the USA, who are always a strong outfit.
Now, playing cricket here in Australia, probably known for being reasonably competitive verbally on the field. Have you learned how to sledge in Italian?
Yeah, I have learned how to sledge in Italian. However, it's not effective because nobody else understands it. So we're better off just speaking English. So it sort of rolls off the tongue nicely.
And just as I guess a work cricket balance, is that one of the challenges of having to uproot yourself and go and play in these tournaments?
It is. It has had a little bit of a compromising effect on my work life, but at the moment I think I'm willing to accept that and take a bit of a financial hit now to hopefully have a good life experience, and maybe it's already presented opportunities to be able to perhaps work overseas in the field that I'm in construction. So with the contacts you make and the life experience, then I think it's worth that slightly slower development side in your working life, because I think as cricketers we're a long time retired, and we'll be working until we're 70, so we might as well enjoy ourselves while we're young now.
And what's been the highlight from your Italian experience? Was there any one time where you just were pinching yourself and think, I can't believe I'm doing this?
There were a few times during my qualification process, when I was actually in Italy, and a few dark days. I did it during the winter, and so I was able to relax at the Colossus a few occasions, and outside the Colosseum there, and look up and just think, gee, what a great place to be exploring cricket around the world. And then in the tournament last March in Dubai, it was the global qualifiers for the T20 World Cup, and Ireland beat us 9 down with about 3 balls to spare, and to pull off that victory would have been absolutely outstanding. And that was a real moment when you're playing against one of those big teams, and such a shame to go down on such a narrow margin, but sort of, you know, it was a really good feeling to be able to contribute in that game and know that we're getting a lot better and a lot closer to a World Cup spot.
You're quite proud of your Italian heritage. What does it mean to be representing the country of your father's birth?
I am very proud of the heritage, and it means an awful lot. There was a moment a few years ago where there was a racial slur made against me during a match, and I'd never really thought about it before, but after that incident, I started to think about what my father might have had to go through when he arrived in Melbourne in the 60s, and the sort of, he had told me a few stories about what used to happen, but he sort of kept it pretty close to his chest. And at that time, I never knew how it would affect me if somebody was to, you know, make a racial slur against me, but it did affect me quite deeply, and I got a real sense of what he might have felt back in the early days when he arrived. And so that sort of made my passion, and it made me want to explore a lot more about where my father had come from and what he had done to be able to produce a life for his children and his family in Australia, you know, against the odds, I guess. It would have been hard yards when he first came out. So all of those sort of factors just mean that I'm immensely proud to be able to represent Italy and hopefully give something back to the sport in that country that has taken me all around the world and given me an opportunity to play.
And I guess you've also felt like a foreigner on the other side, going back to Italy as someone born and bred in Australia. So that would give you another, touch of what he'd been through, and perhaps that makes you a little more rounded, back here in Australia or wherever you go. Absolutely, and the thing that probably makes you the most rounded over there is the fantastic food. So it's very easy to indulge yourself in all those fantastic aspects of the life over there that definitely put on a few kilos and help you keep balanced and rounded, I guess. Places in Italy are renowned as being fashion hotspots. Have you found it affecting some of the decisions you're making with your kit? I have toyed with the tomato chinos every now and again and the brown loafers, but I haven't yet made that progress, although they are starting to come in, I think, around Australia. Perhaps this time I might get into the European fashion a little bit more. Peter, all the best over there in Bermuda and for your career beyond, both with Italy and back here in Melbourne, and thanks for being with us. Thanks, Avian. Thanks very much.